Hi, I'm Anna Brewster. Welcome to Art Club for March, and we are doing hares today, or rabbits if you like, we don't mind. So I have been making these little pop-up hares. If you can see this, we'll get right in there. There we go. So it pops up like that, and they are done in coloured pencils. So you're going to need some coloured pencils. You could use paint if you've got some and prefer to use that, but I'd go for coloured pencils. Some brown card type stuff, or white if you've got it, doesn't really matter, and a few other bits and pieces like scissors and maybe even a craft knife if you're feeling reckless. Let's get going. Okay, so what we're going to do first is we're going to be thinking about the hare shape. Now, hares are not like rabbits at all. They're quite weird. They're quite a weird looking animal, really. And I've drawn this one from a picture that I found in a nature book, an old nature book. And you can see here the hare has got, it's got immensely long ears, quite a squarish, sort of blockish face, and a very very big body. So it's nothing like a rabbit at all. So if you want to do a hare, I would strongly recommend finding some source images that you can draw from, or even better, go out and see if you can spot one in the fields, although you will be lucky because they're quite rare now. If you wanted to do a rabbit instead, that would work just as well. So don't be put off if you can't find the animal that we're hoping to find, although I have called this March hares because it's a bit of a thing, isn't it, March hares? So what I'm going to use for this, you can see here I've drawn one out on quite kind of mid-toned brown paper. It's quite thick paper, but you can do it on any paper. This, I found some of this stuff which is a little bit thicker. It's a little bit more like card, and if you can find a thick card, or like a moderately thick card or a thick paper that you can draw on, this will work better because you're going to try to stand it up obviously at the end, and if it's thin paper you might have to put another layer of something behind it just to give it a little bit of strength. This is, what is this? This is probably quite posh, I've got to be honest. It's Clairefontaine Multi-Technique Naturel paint mixed media pad. Yeah, I don't think I've actually used it for doing anything like that. I've used it put teeth back in. I've mostly used it for charcoal because I like working with a mid-tone paper with charcoal. And what I want to show you today is how pencil crayons also look amazing on mid-tone paper, and I will explain what I mean as I go along. So what you're going to do first is you're going to find your hare, and you're going to make a picture of the hare, and I have done this in advance because otherwise I'll be there forever faffing about with it, and I want to speed up and get on to the interesting bits. What you need to do is, when you've got your piece of paper you're going to put it on and you've drawn a rough version of your hare, you need to make sure that there's enough space below your hare, so we're talking here, you can see this bit here, that the ground level is going to give you something that you can prop up a little bit. It'll work better if you've got a bit of space underneath it. So my hare is going to go about there on the paper, and what I've done is I've just scrubbed on the back with some, do it on here, you just make life easy. Or if you're feeling really crafty, you can just draw it straight onto what you're going to do. But I'll show you where I'm going to put this. So my hare is going to go about, where's he going to go? He's going to go about, or she. Apparently, traditionally, all hares are female. Don't ask me how that works. I'm just going to trace over the top of my hare, though. When I was drawing this, I was thinking about, I drew it freehand from a picture, as I say, but I was thinking very much about the shapes that make up the hare. So this is like a great big, like a pear shape or a triangle shape. What shape are the ears? And then as artists, we break down everything into shapes. We don't look at something as, let's say, as a hare. We look at it as a triangle and a square and a circle. It just makes it easier to see what you're actually drawing. So I'm going to just draw that down there. They have incredibly long legs. I couldn't see the legs on this one because they were buried in the grass, so we'll have a similar setup here where it's slightly buried in the grass, and you just want a rough outline really. If you hold it down, you can check that you've got, see, I can see I've missed a bit there. Let's get that in. Right, so I've roughly got my hair now. I don't know if you can see that, it's a little bit, yeah, you probably can. Really, really light. And now what I can do, I can either go over this with a pen or I can go over it with a pencil. I am probably going to just go over it with a pen because it will be easier for you to see what I'm doing. But it's totally fine to do this with a pencil first. So I'm going to get the shape of the thing. Start at the ears. They have huge nostrils, hares. Don't ask me why. I guess because actually they're really just big animals. And they have very bulbous eyes as well. So I'll get to the eye in a minute. Let's get that ear in. I can't show you the picture that I drew this from because I haven't got it to hand. But what I will do is I'll put in a little bit of the detail kind of on the ears and things like that as well with the pen while I'm at it. And I've got to think about where that ground level is. The ground level's about there. So we're just going to draw draw her in. Here she is. Keeping it quite... Oh, look, I've missed that. There's me being silly. I've missed half a leg. Let's put that one in as well. That's the front leg anyway. They've got quite big feet as well, but you can't really see the feet in this picture. It's difficult to put mouths on things like this because what you tend to find, what happens is the mouth ends up looking like it's smirking at you or something like that. So I'd avoid that. Maybe don't put the mouth on. Right, okay, so I've got roughly the shape. Oh, it's got no bottom. Better fix that. Right, there we go. So I've got a rough shape of the hair at this point. And you can add in really any sort of level of detail you want. So, for example, it's got its ears. So just think about that. Actually, I'm going to do its eye first. Eyes. They will often have a little catch light in them just so that like where the light is bouncing off the wetness of the eye. Now just putting a little bit of ear. That'll probably do the job. I don't need loads of stuff going on. I'm just going to put in a few bits of grass around the feet of the hare, partly to cover up the fact that I couldn't see what was happening on the, but also just because it's nice. This is what hares do. This is what I like about hares, is you don't see them till suddenly they just kind of ping up out of the grass at you. So there's my hair, and then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use some pencil crayons to colour it in, and I will show you about these pencil crayons. These are my, to be fair, they're my posh pencil crayons. Would I call them that? Yes, probably. They are Derwent drawing pencil crayons, and they're very kind of, for want of a better descriptor, oily. They're quite oily pencils. So I can show you what I mean. Let's find a good colour. There's a good colour. They produce quite a thick, quite a dense mark. But really, honestly, any pencil crayons you've got will work really well for this. You don't need fancy pencil crayons. Good excuse for me to get mine out. And as you can see, mine are all blunt as anything. So I'm in a quick impromptu sharpening thing of the ones that I think I might want to use. These particular ones, the Derwent drawings, come in a very kind of a natural range. They don't do a very big range, but what they do are really kind of nice earth colours and things like that. So For what I am going to want, I'm going to want probably that one, maybe a little bit grey. Might go for the black, don't know. Got some very old ones that are, I don't know, 20, 30 years old. They still work. A nice warm colour. Just a few kind of greys. And is that the same? No, it's fossil grey. I like that one especially because I live on the Jurassic coast and we love a fossil down here. That much is true. Okay, so I've got a fairly nice sort of selection here. So now I can start thinking about colouring in my hair. Now, I want to be able to add lots of texture with my colours. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start kind of popping a few of the darker bits in first. And I've got quite a nice dark brown for that. So I'm going to start putting in some of that. And I'm going to try and get a bit of texture in here. So I'm just using that colour. Hares have quite black ears, or very dark brown ears. So I'm going to add some of that dark brown in here. And I'm just going to keep kind of moving the pencil really kind of loosely, and if it goes over the edge it doesn't really matter, it's not the end of the world. I always say that, don't I? That is my kind of who cares where it ends up, it's all good. Okay, so I'm just putting in a little bit of dark on the other ear, and that will go down to a nice brown colour a bit further down. Let's have a look. So we've got this guy. Then I'm going to have a little bit of dark coming down the nose. I've drawn quite a lot of hairs, but I always have to double check those proportions because they are a little bit odd, and then often they have quite dark kind of where you describe their shoulders being. Really, do hares have shoulders? This is a big question. And the nice thing about pencil crayons is that they layer quite well. Even if you've got cheapy ones, they'll layer quite well. So I can put on lighter areas of this brown just down here, and I can layer other colours over the top, which is what I'm going to do in a minute. So we've got the hair now looks quite sort of imperious and a little bit cross. Right, so I'm going to move to a different colour now. I've got a nice mid-brown. Let's start bringing that in there. And you can see that I'm just filling in gaps here. I'm looking, when you've got your source image, you can kind of look at it and think, okay, is that a dark bit? Is that a light bit? What am I going to fill it in with? Is it a warm colour? Is it a nice cool colour? And once you start looking at it like that, it gets quite easy. You just keep filling in bits until you run out of bits to fill in. So I think that bit down there was quite brown. It's quite easy to get kind of lost in the zone there once you're filling in like this. And what I like about pencil crayons for this is you get this lovely kind of texture happening, which maybe you wouldn't get so much with paint. I'm a big fan of pencil crayons generally. I use them in mixed media. I use them over the top of paint a lot. When I want to make interesting marks, or just for interest really, and just for fun. Right, do it at the bottom, a little bit brown down there. Nice and smooth. I haven't seen many hares in my life, I'll be honest. The last ones I saw were in Northumberland, and I saw two boxing in the field opposite where I was staying, and it absolutely blew me away. It was such an incredible thing to see. Right, so we've got quite a lot of brown sort of colour in here. Let's go for a lighter colour. What's that? I seem to have two the same, don't know quite how that's happened. I've got a grey, I've got quite a warm colour. I swear to God I had more than this. I think someone's been nicking my pencils. Let's go for that one. So this is one of my really old ones that I got from the Derwent factory up in the Lake District about 1 million years ago. I say that 1 million years ago, when I was 18. It's a very old pencil. It still works. Right, so they're quite a mixture of colours really, these guys. I'm just blending them all together. I am doing this faster than I would normally, I'll be honest, because what I want to do is not bore you to death watching me colouring, but you're getting the idea. They don't have much ready sort of colour on their faces, so I'll focus on these bits down here. What is useful though in your quiver of pencils is a really good white, and I'll show you for why in a little bit. Now what's that? That's the fossil grey. So at this point I'm going to start, but you can see how the mid-tone paper is actually doing quite a lot of the work. I don't need to fill in every single little gap because the mid-tone paper is doing some of that for me. Now here's a little bit of the, putting a little bit of the paler colour over the top and in the ears. Pencil crayons layer really nicely, and they are the good ones. The amount of pigment actually in them is awesome. They are really, really punchy. You've got a lot of control, which is really nice. You can make sure that the colour only goes where you want it to go. And you can see here, I don't know if you can see here, but I've layered this bit. I've layered the pale over the dark, and I've got this kind of lovely effect happening here. It's quite like fur. Okay, right, so we're going to get a next lighter colour on, and I'm just working with the colours I want to work with, really. I'm not too worried about darks, lights, whatever. I think a little bit of like a yellowy ochre sort of colour, just to bring it to life. Not going for complete realism here, I'm more going for kind of interesting. Who's to say you even have to do it hair colours? I will not be held responsible if you colour it in purple. Okay. There we go. Just get the legs are quite pale. The underside is relatively pale. So I'm going to try and get that bit kind of the right sort of colours. Again, I'm going to layer this colour over the top, this nice warm sort of ochre-y colour. Getting there. It looks a bit stripy, might have to just tone that down a bit. Where's my dark? That one. Get a little bit under the, kind of under the chin, because I think there would be more shadow there, and I'm going to get a little bit of dark or something on that nose, just to okie dokie. Right, I've just got this bit to do, and then I'll show you what I'm going to do with the grass. So kind of this is a nice kind of mid brown. Just where the leg and the it's hard to see where its leg actually began and ended, because there was quite a lot of grass in the original photo that I was working from, and I have kind of messed about with it a little bit. Let's put that there. Okay, right. And the other thing you can do with pencil crayons, depending on what paper you've got, is you can gently smudge them. So you might find that you want to just have a little go with that, the smudginess. And I was saying about white, wasn't I? So I have a white. And white is really useful because you can go over the top of things with it. So say I want to really pull out this bit here. There. I can... And you can even layer more things over the top of that. It's It's quite fun. But you can do this with whatever you've got. You could even do it as a watercolour. The reason why I've specifically not done it as a watercolour is because I want this to stand up, and if I have made it wet it will buckle, and so to avoid that buckling happening I am doing it with the pencil crayons today, because they will just keep it nice and flat, which is what I want. Am I happy with this? Getting there. I could spend a long time doing this though, so I'm not going to spend a long time doing this because otherwise everybody will have expired of boredom. I'm going to fish some greens out, so I've got a couple of greens I can work with. And what I love about hares is, as I say, how they pop up out of the grass. So I'm going to put in a little bit of grass for here, bearing in mind that I'm going to have to cut round this in a crafty way, so I'm not going to go too mad on this. Just a little bit. Just a bit like that, I think. And then because it's nice to get a bit of depth on things, I've got a slightly darker green. I'll just layer a little bit of that. Get a little bit of green around the hare's leg. And then what I might do is just put in now. What we are going to do is we're going to make a cutout that folds up. So the questions, there are several questions here. The first question is where is the line? Well, just block that because I can see what's going to happen. There we go. The line is about there, so I'm going to find that line. Let's find the bottom of it, fold it over, just so I know where it is, so I don't get in a pickle later. And then what I'm going to do, you may notice I've got a weird green thing here, and the reason for that is because I'm going to use a craft knife to cut around the hare. When you cut around the hare, you need to be a little bit careful, because what you want to do is you want to only cut. So this is my self-healing mat, so I don't need to worry about going through the table. And you are cutting round. You could do this with scissors. If you are doing this with the craft knife, protect your table, protect your fingers, and don't let small children near your weapons. Weapons, dear oh dear. I've got a first aid kit at the ready in case I accidentally slice my fingers off. Unlikely, to be fair. Right, so I've gone down as far as, where am I up to? About here. Keep going down to the grass. And what we're doing, as you will see in a minute, we need to be quite careful how we cut this out, because this is going to be how the hare pops up. So when you get down to the line, you stop cutting. Yeah, you don't go along, you just stop. So I've got down to the edge of my grass, just there, and I have stopped. I'm going to go round the hare's head now. Remember to turn the paper to make it easy for you. You could even, if you're a bit worried about doing this, you could make a deliberate choice to go a little distance out from the edge of the hare. It won't really matter too much in the long run. This craft knife is not nearly as sharp as I would like it to be, which is very sad because it's having to press quite hard. Right, going all the way round. Remember, you've got to cut out so that the hair will pop out of the thing. So don't cut in to any of the edges. We are just taking it nice and slowly, trying to get a nice smooth cut across there. Turn it again, we're going up the other ear. You may find when you try and pop it out that it doesn't want to come. Patience, 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 patience. There may be little bits that you need to go over again. I know I'm going to need to go over that again. I know that's not going to be, I can feel that wasn't a particularly good cut. So we go round here, round here. Whoops, that wasn't the best. Doesn't matter. It's quite a nice idea, this, because you could do it with anything, if you're thinking Easter decorations, cards, whatever. But also, you can fold it flat and stick it in an envelope if you want. So if you know someone who really likes hares, this might be a lovely thing for them to receive in the post. You could do it with any animal, but whatever you do it with, I'd strongly suggest you do it with something that isn't too kind of, like if you were to do it with a bird, its little legs might cause problems, because obviously its little legs would make it very, very bendy. You need something with a bit of kind of solidity to it. Now, I'm just going to go around and see if I can pop this out. Oh, yes, yes, we're getting there. I'm not sure about that nose, but I wonder if I've missed a bit there. No, just don't think I cut it very well. There we go. But patience, patience, because you don't want to rip it. Go over that bit again, that bit had missed. Right, okay, we're nearly there. So the grass is not particularly, the grass doesn't want to come. Let's make sure it's the core. It's always the little points on the grass that cause the problems. I think that's bit, yeah, okay, that side's okay. Just be very careful with your craft knife at this point, because you're nearly there, and it'd be a terrible shame to damage yourself at this point in the proceedings. You can just pop those bits out. Pop, pop, pop. There we go. Right, so my hair is now free of the thing, and so what the hair will do is, using that fold that you made a minute ago, your hair will stand up. There we go. So it's hard to show you this because I'm showing you from the top, but the hair will stand up, and you can lie it down again if you need to, but up it goes. Okay, so that will work by itself, but if you want to make a fancy layer of grass here, what you do is, you've already got that fold, yes, so you know which bit you're working on, but you need to work on the back of it here. So you flip the whole rabbit upside down, so the rabbit is facing down towards you, and you draw the grass in here. So I might draw, I don't know, you don't have to go quite that tall, but you can put in, I'm going to go quite messy with this one. I'll put in some sort of flowers and things and see if I can cut it out without making a terrible mess. I'm going to go right the way down. This is going to be on the back, so nobody's going to see this bit. I'm going to run out of green crayon, aren't I? I'm going to have to sharpen this again in a minute. Right, where's my other one? There he is. As I say, this bit's not going to be visible, so you don't need to worry too much about it. And then you could, if you were being really fancy, I'm going to put in some little yellow flowers, because why not? It's this time of year, there are yellow things absolutely everywhere. Okay, how about some other colours for blue? Blue's always nice at this time of year as well, isn't it? What's that? Delft blue? That sounds nice. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this with a pair of scissors, because this bit is a little bit easier to do with scissors because you're just chopping down. So all I'm doing is I'm cutting in. You can cut all the way down in some places, so I can cut all the way down to there, but I'm just cutting down to make everything into a little, what looks a bit like grass. Some of them I'll take all the way down. Actually, I'm going to take that one all the way down, otherwise we may not see the hair at all. It's a little bit kind of rough and ready, but you can take as much time as you like over this. So you could do lots of different things with this. You could even stick other layers of grass on top of it, but you're just taking out some of that grass. It's easier to do this with scissors than a craft knife, although you could use either. Right, nearly there. And then I'll show you how we can stick this together. Oops, just gone through 2 layers of something there, never mind. Trying not to cut out all of the yellow bits, but I do seem to be, without fail, hitting all of the yellow bits. That's not brilliant, is it? Never mind. It's the idea that counts. You can see little bits of yellow. Actually, that's quite nice because you can see the little bits of yellow in the grass, and this does remind me of watching hares in fields, even though it's a couple of years since I've actually seen one at all. Okay, I don't like that bit very much. I'm just going to tidy up that looks a bit scrappy. Okay, right, so if you are choosing to do this bit, let's get rid of all that stuff. Now what I'm going to need is a little bit of glue, and I have got some glue sticks here, so that will do fine. You just flip it over and get some glue on this bit. It doesn't matter if the grass is flapping about a bit, because actually I quite like that. So let's get a bit of glue. Oh, I'm going to regret this next time I use this cutting mat, aren't I? Right, just up to your line. So up to your line, and then all you need to do is fold that. Oh, we have to be careful here. No, we just fold it onto the hair. That glue will just have to dry. We just fold it onto the hair. So you could be clever and just try and glue that bit, but I think I'd have struggled, to be honest. And now our little hare is hiding. There we go. Hiding in the grass. Okay, so that's about it for Art Club for March, and I hope you've had fun, or you're going to have a little go at doing this little guy. And if you do, I would love to see. So I am at Anna Brewster Art on social media generally. Send me a picture, I'd love to see what you get up to. And I will be back in April with some daffodils. Thank you very much. Bye now.